So yeah, not all wrestlers are meant to be in WWE. As a matter of fact, some wrestlers take pride in the fact that they're never going to be in WWE because of where they choose to work, where they choose to operate.
Their gimmicks.
Well,
yeah.
Well, like the Briscoes. The Briscoe brothers is arguably the Briscoes and the Young Bucks are probably two of the best tag teams that have never worked in WWE, and it's for a good reason. Number one, the Young Bucks absolutely do not want to be tied down by WWE.
Fair.
And the Briscoes, because of their family, because of their family and everything, they can't travel as much, and unless they're offered a part-time contract, they won't sign. Since they've never been in the WWE, they're probably never going to sign because if they're not in WWE, Vince can't see the Vince almost absolutely refuses to watch anything outside of his own product,
which is ridiculous.
It is. Because you need to watch the Outer Territories. You need to watch Ring of Honor. You need to watch New Japan. You need to watch TNA.
Yeah.
You need to watch...
It pained you to say that, didn't it?
Yeah. You need to watch Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. You even need to watch CZW. I mean, honestly, you need to watch all of these.
You know what else you need to watch? WhatCulture.
WhatCulture. Indeed. WhatCulture. WCPW.
Yep.
I mean, they're doing really good work right now.
Oh, yeah.
And they're bringing in a lot of really good... I mean, hell, they pulled Drew Galloway away from TNA Impact.
And here's the thing. With the Hardys having left TNA...
Yeah.
I wonder if these guys could get them.
Well, actually, the Hardys didn't have a restrictive contract. The Hardys could go to WCPW while under TNA, and they did.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Broken Matt Hardy showed up and actually fought Bubba Ray Dudley.
Oh, that's a match.
That was a match.
That's a match.
That was a match.
Oh, man.
But
Dudley Boys.
Yeah, but anyway,
man, Dudley Boys were robbed. I'm done with that conversation.
Yeah,
now.
but
Dudley Boys.
But anyway,
were
like I was saying, not every person is meant to make it in WWE. For instance, you can get to the show. You could have a good gimmick. You could have tremendous matches. You could be an amazing worker. But something can happen that will derail every bit of progress that you have made.
Oh, yeah.
WhatCulture noticed this, and they made a list. 10 precise moments when WWE careers ended.
This is going to be bad.
This is going to hurt.
This is going to be bad, but you know what? I picked this video.
Yes, you did.
So, on my head be it.
All right. And
we got to do that, and then we got to do one of those, and then a beep boop.
Longtime wrestling fans remember how their favorite wrestlers debuted, like John Cena on SmackDown with his ruthless aggression against Kurt Angle,
or
The Shield attacking Ryback at Survivor Series 2012, or Xavier Woods, who just kind of showed up randomly one week with R-Truth. Who could forget?
Yep.
But what about the last time we saw a wrestler? Unlike in TV shows where characters are written out, or in sports when athletes announce their retirement, wrestlers often just disappear, and we have no idea where they went. While certain talent may get a good push out of the gate, they can fall out of favor with management quickly. They go from being unstoppable to losing every single match, and then they're let go, never to be seen again.
Yep.
And sometimes you can determine the precise moment when a wrestler's career ended on air. It's entertaining and horrifying all at the same time, and lucky for you, we found 10 of them.
There you go.
Go for it.
Number 10, fake Razor Ramon.
Oh.
James Bond has been recast half a dozen times. There were 2 different Darrens on Bewitched, and there was like 10 to 40 different Doinks. So why can't Razor Ramon and Diesel be replaced? The answer is because it was a really stupid thing to do, and fans saw right through it.
Yeah.
Also, Rick Bogner is no Scott Hall, and Glenn Jacobs is no Kevin Nash. Well, I mean, I guess he is kind of, because they're both really successful. Anyway, Vince got his diapers in a bunch when Hall and Nash went to WCW, so he decided to say, screw it, I created them, I'll just replace them with guys who sort of vaguely look like them if you saw them underwater from like half a mile away. The 2 fakes got a bit of a push right out of the gate, but the fans absolutely hated them.
Oh, yeah.
And when Razor was tossed out of the 1997 Royal Rumble after a couple of punches from Ahmed Johnson, we kind of knew he was done for. It was the last we saw of him in a WWF ring. These days, he currently lives with the fake Sting, the first Sin Cara, and George Lazenby. Next up, Paul Bearer. Man, WWE sure did like to murder Paul Bearer. He was the company's own version of Kenny. Had he not passed away in real life, the character likely would have been ran over, electrocuted, and fallen out of a hot air balloon by now. In 2012, Randy Orton kidnapped Bearer. He strapped him to a wheelchair and pushed him into a freezer. It was attempted murder by a babyface, just like Edge attempted murder on Bearer before. Yay. Luckily, Kane came to his father's rescue, got him out of the freezer, and then suddenly decided to put him back in to cool off and die. Bear's decades in the business ended with him frozen like a fish stick. The biggest question is,
don't trust the Gorton's fisherman.
Just let him out. And now, Dean Douglas. Shane Douglas in ECW was awesome. Shane Douglas as Dean Douglas in WWF was terrible with a capital T and pukifying with a capital P. However, Vince didn't see it this way. He loved the Dean, at least at first. He had plans to make him the Intercontinental Champion, but standing in his way was Shawn Michaels, who wasn't too keen on losing to him.
No.
Due to a fight in real life with some Marines, HBK was hurt and didn't compete. Apparently, sweet chin music doesn't work that well in an actual fight, so he had to forfeit the title, and they just gave it to Dino. No one in the clique really liked Douglas, so the title win was cleverly disguised as a burial and was only a way to move the gold from one clique member to the next. Dean held the title for 11 minutes, or about the time it takes to make 5 Hot Pockets. With that loss, you could tell the writing was on the chalkboard. Douglas' tenure was at an end, and he was soon dismissed with failing grades.
Ooh.
Here we go with Public Enemy. Public Enemy came to WWE in 1999 after a pretty uneventful run in WCW.
Oh, no.
Instead of trying to turn things around, they coasted off a reputation they'd built years earlier in ECW, and apparently didn't show enough respect to the veterans in the new locker room.
they didn't.
Yeah.
Basically, they were pretty much hated, and it became a storyline on air that other tag teams couldn't stand them. The Acolytes specifically wanted to beat some respect into them, and so they did on an episode of Sunday Night Heat. It was a 4-minute massacre featuring brutal chair shots and stiff punches and kicks. This was due to Public Enemy wanting to change the finish of the match right before it started. The beating looked borderline criminal, and it was such a one-sided assault that there was no way Public Enemy could be built back up into credible opponents.
Yep.
Their entire run in the WWF lasted 2 months. Luckily, this was the last time Bradshaw bullied another person in the wrestling business. Except for The Miz, the Blue Meanie, Joey Styles, Billy Silverman, Palmer Cannon, and Brian Christopher, but besides that, no one. Number 6,
Besides that, no one.
Nathan Jones. Nathan Jones, the Colossus from Boggle Road. Bono? A one-time strongman and arm wrestling competitor who also served 7 years in prison for armed robbery, and who also got a basket of fruit thrown at him in a Jackie Chan movie. It's easy to see
Good
what
times.
Vince McMahon saw in him. Oh yeah, because he's 7 feet tall. And you can't teach that. So they brought Boggleman in with some cool vignettes, then in a strange move made him a babyface sidekick of The Undertaker. The two teamed up to fight Crime, which was the duo of The Big Show and A-Train, which is kind of like Batman and Robin teaming up to fight Condiment King and Egghead. You know Batman can do it himself, but he wants to be nice to Boy Wonder and give him some experience. So at WrestleMania 19, a tag match between the four was set to go down until Vince realized that Nathan was really, really, really bad and not ready for that kind of stage, so he had him get attacked by the FBI before the show. So Taker went alone and won. All Nathan had to do was deliver one kick outside the ring. His major push was then over. He was sent down to OVW.
Oh, yeah.
And it boggles the mind how it didn't work out better for him. Number 5, Bart Gunn. Poor Bart. The man was set up to lose, literally. The Brawl for All tournament was set up so Dr. Death would win and then battle Steve Austin. But then Bart had to do the Bart Man and knocked out Death cold. Instead of giving us Bart Austin, Bart went home until the company could figure out what the hell to do with him. Someone in creative had an idea to have him legitimately fight Butterbean, a man who is most well known for being half butter, half bean, at WrestleMania 15. However, this was straight up boxing and wasn't MMA inspired like the original Brawl for All tournament was, and Butterbean bashed Bart's brains out brilliantly in 35 seconds. Now his tough guy image was gone, and there was nothing else they could do with him.
Wow.
And since Billy Gunn was doing nice for himself in DX, it was sadly unlikely that we'd ever get the Smoking Guns 2.0. Number 4, Buff Bagwell. Buff may have been buff, he may have been the stuff, and the girls may not have been able to get enough. But he wasn't able to keep a job in WWE.
Nope.
When the WWE bought out WCW, they missed out on all the top stars due to them having contracts with Time Warner and not WCW. So the biggest 3 names we got were Booker T, DDP, and Buff Bagwell. Sadly, Judy Bagwell wanted too much money. For some reason, Vince McMahon decided to air a match featuring Booker and Bagwell in the main event of Raw, despite the match not being fit to main event an episode of Thunder. To the surprise of no one who had watched WCW in its last couple years, the match stunk, largely because of the master of the chin lock, Buff Bagwell. The man had a great look, but was mediocre in the ring and a huge pain in the ass behind the scenes. The match went to a no contest as Kurt Angle and Steve Austin just tossed the two out of the building. Just bye Buff. Apparently no one ever let him back inside. He's probably still out there somewhere, waiting to be let in. Number 3,
no, he's not.
Hawk.
Oh, man.
Oh, what a rush. Oh, what a fall. The Legion of Doom / Road Warriors were an amazing tag team, but instead of battling younger teams in 1998, Vince McMahon thought it would be funnier for Hawk to battle alcoholism, because he was really battling drugs and alcohol abuse in real life.
Wow.
No. Hawk was no longer unstoppable and could now barely walk to the ring because he was so hammered. The moment that essentially killed the legendary group was when they appeared to kill off Hawk himself by making him jump off the back of a Titantron. And apparently this was all a master plan of Draws / Puke, the newest member of the group who enabled Hawk's drug addiction, and his goal was to kill him. This kind of nonsense was too much for the legendary team, and they soon quit the company. At least when Heidenreich joined the group later, he didn't attempt murder on anyone. Number 2, Mark Merrow.
Yeah.
WWE had big
Here we
claims to
go.
Mark Merrow, but a couple of bigger things overshadowed Mark. Sable. His real-life wife started out as his valet, but week after week, she grew more popular and he grew more Mark Merrow-ish.
Yeah.
Who needed the former Little Richard knockoff when you had Sable? So the company split the duo up and decided to have them fight it out, and Merrow got his ass handed to him. His defining moment in the company was being Sable-bombed by a woman who was half his size and in no way, shape, or form resembled a professional fighter. There was no recovering from that feud, and Mark never received a decent push again.
Nope.
On the way out, luckily he did the time-honored tradition in his last match and put over the hot up-and-comer, Gilbert. Number 1, Muhammad Hassan. In another wrestling universe,
Oh,
Muhammad
Jesus.
Hassan is still in WWE, enjoying a great wrestling career after having multiple world title runs. But in this universe, he was essentially murdered by The Undertaker.
Ooh.
McMahon loves controversy, and so he made the offensive Hassan character even more offensive when he jumped to SmackDown by making him a straight-up terrorist. After his manager Daivari lost a match to Taker,
Wow.
Hassan began to pray, and 5 masked men beat up Taker and then carried Daivari away as if he was a martyr. Unfortunately, the London bombings took place 3 days later,
Ooh.
the
That was
day the
bad.
show was set to air. Understandably, the networks airing the show were not pleased. They wanted nothing more to do with the character, and at the Great American Bash, Taker beat Hassan in a world title match and was given a last ride onto the concrete floor. Hassan never returned, and he was basically never spoken of again. So yes, we can only assume that Taker killed him. Well, all's well that ends well, or something like that. That's all for this list. Got any more precise
jeez.
moments when WWE careers ended? Sound off below. I'm Andrew Socek with WhatCulture.com. Follow me at Andrew Socek on Twitter, and follow our channel for lots of great content.
Man.
Okay,
Whew. That's
that's some heavy shit.
mercy me.
Okay, yeah. I remember, okay, when WCW was bought out by WWF,
Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking, would we see the big name people on WCW, on WWF?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. You've just laid claim to a fairly sizable organization.
Yeah.
You've just gained a huge number of stars. You've essentially doubled your stable.
Yes.
So, you've got a lot of star power to play with.
Yes.
It makes sense that you would hold on to it.
Yeah. But instead, the wrestlers who were able to come over got buried quick. Case in point, I remember DDP,
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite wrestlers. If not my favorite, which he's going into the Hall of Fame now, so that's something.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember when he came over, here was the thing. Over a span of weeks, there were some very creepy things going on in WWF.
Right.
For instance, the Undertaker's wife, Sarah, was being stalked by somebody. They actually showed footage, like, at their house, like Sarah getting out of the pool, drying off.
Oh, that's...
And also her inside, like, brushing her hair with the open window.
That's super not okay.
No, and here's the thing. No, the Undertaker filmed this. That's the thing about it.
Okay,
The Undertaker
all right.
filmed this with his wife's permission. And everything.
Okay.
But
all
you
right.
see, it was for the storytelling aspect. But anyway, the storytelling aspect, what happened was the voiceover, there was a voiceover, and it was a very distorted voice, like, "Your wife's very beautiful, Undertaker. I wonder what she would make of me." And and here's the thing, and you see, but this was all approved by the Undertaker and the Undertaker's wife. They didn't do anything too disrespectful.
But to be fair, they didn't come up with the idea.
I don't know that. I don't know. Well, here's
I
the thing.
pretty
No,
well do.
here was the thing. Here's the thing, though. Anyway, the last vignette ended right before a invasion. The invasion angle was like in full swing.
Oh no.
Anyway, the day before, the week before, or that night rather, the last vignette was like Undertaker and Sarah taking off on the Undertaker's motorcycle, and there was a camera set up inside of the garage, and you saw them take off, and the voiceover says, "I'm here tonight. and I'm here to make a statement. And you see him walk in. You see like his legs down, and he walks in, and he turns the camera off. And then it's been said that the Undertaker is not here tonight, and so if the stalker is in fact here, he won't be able to confront him. Anyway, then this happens. Let's see.
Oh, no.
Then this happens. This was during the Undertaker's American Badass phase.
Which was unfortunate.
Okay, yeah. But anyway, this happens.
Shut up! Back it off!
Hey, William Regal.
Bloody hell!
He's killing it as NXT commissioner. But anyway, everyone thought, okay, oh, the Undertaker's here.
Everybody's like, the Taker.
Yeah, he's here.
Oh, I thought you talked to him at home, JR. I did. Oh, bull! It's about time you got shown up for who you are and what you are. You didn't talk to the Undertaker at home. He's here tonight.
Now, at the time, I had no idea who the hell this was.
Oh, yeah. Blackmail Mr. McMahon. He's throw your ass right at the WWF right now. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. I'm ashamed to be broadcasting.
And everybody's like, this is the Taker.
It's Undertaker. And then they
it's
see,
too far away.
And then they see,
Take a look, big man. That's not the Undertaker.
it's the stalker.
And the stalker
He's wearing a balaclava, and he's in a leather jacket.
He is,
And he's on the Undertaker's motorcycle.
he is completely indistinct.
Yes. I had no idea who this was.
And he's got sunglasses.
Yeah, he's got sunglasses, so you can't tell his eyes look like either.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm like, oh god, who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? I'm like, I can't wait for the Undertaker to just rip this guy into it. That's what I was thinking at this point. And I was
He's got
like,
the long duster.
yeah. And I was like, who the hell is it? Who the hell is this?
That guy is completely.
Yeah, and he does the Undertaker's, fist in the air. And you hear the crowd. The crowd is like in complete unison of just like, who is this guy?
I mean, this is the prequel to Boo the Music.
Yeah. But anyway,
Who is it?
at any point, it could have been anybody. I was like, it could have been anybody under that mask.
Yeah.
Anybody.
I mean, it couldn't have been Booker T.
No, it couldn't have been Booker T. But I was like, I wonder who it is. I wonder who it could be.
Oh, yeah.
And then, at this moment, part of my childhood died.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like...
Because it's DDP.
Because it's Diamond Dallas Page.
And...
To which, listen to the crowd's reaction as soon as they find out who it is. They're actually cheering.
Yeah, they get hyped.
Because it's Dallas Page. And look, they do the diamond cutter with him.
Oh,
boom,
yeah.
Bang, yeah. And you see, look at the crowd. The crowd's going nuts.
The crowd is hype as shit.
And you see, here's the thing. This was wasted. You see, Diamond Dallas Page came to Vince McMahon because here was the thing. In WCW, Diamond Dallas Page was regarded as the People's Champ. That was his moniker.
Right.
That was he was marketed as because everyone in the crowd loved him.
Yeah.
When he was at his peak, he was the People's Champ. And
a title later given to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Well, actually, The Rock, around the same time as Diamond Dallas Page, started fading out a little bit. When WCW was on the decline.
Oh yeah.
He became known as the People's Champ. As a matter of fact, DDP came to, they had the stalker angle in line.
Right.
They had the stalker angle in line. And they presented the story to potential talent coming up. Did you want to be this to try and get a,
try to get a push.
Get a good push against The Undertaker.
Yeah.
Anyway, Diamond Dallas Page pitched an angle to Vince McMahon stating that, actually, what I had an idea for Vince was... In WCW, I was the People's Champ, whereas in WWF, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is the People's Champ.
Mm-hmm. Now,
a lot of WCW fans come to your shows now because you're the biggest in the market, and
right.
you took our audience away, and you took our audience, rightfully so. You put on the better product,
right?
I was thinking, why not do a People's Champ versus People's Champ? And I don't mind putting over Dwayne because, he's The Rock, and, he's younger, and he's, this is his time and everything. But I'd like to have some, some recompense out of this, maybe me and him, meet as baby faces, and we shake hands after the match is over and everything, meet like men.
Yeah.
And the amount of cheers he got just from being the Stalker, because everyone was so ready to hate him, and then he debuted as the Stalker. And
they still loved him.
They loved him. They still cheered him.
Because they're just like, it's DDP.
Yeah. So could you imagine this? Actually, this is how DDP put it. He said, Dwayne's in the ring doing his thing, talking the talk, walking the walk.
Oh, yeah.
And
smelling what the Rock is cooking.
Smell what the Rock is cooking. Pancakes, by the way. And all of a sudden he says, and I am the Rock and your people's champion. And all of a sudden,
and then his theme plays.
And then all of a sudden, Diamond Dallas, you hear over the intercom, so who's the real people's champ, Rock? And then DDP's theme plays, and DDP comes walking out.
Oh, that's
what DDP wanted. That's what
I would have killed for that.
I would have loved that.
That would have been
epic. That would have been so good.
All of this was before I started watching wrestling.
Yeah, but
what you have just described would be hype as hell.
And it would put two baby faces against one another because the fans still love DDP, even though WCW was on the decline, and they tried to make him like a heel at some point.
Yeah,
people still cheered for him.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't matter. Like, people don't just cheer for the faces; people cheer for their favorites.
Yeah, and of all the wrestlers who were not under like full contract that were able to come over, after the collapse of WCW. DDP was one of them.
Yeah.
DDP was one of them that could come back.
Yeah.
DDP was one of them that could come back because he didn't have the contract that had to be bought out.
Yeah.
You see, because what a lot of the big wrestlers did was they waited until their contracts were up at the end of 2002, and they just pretty much sat on the couch and did nothing. That's what they did because their contracts were through 2012. And they were big contracts that were worth a lot of money. So the only way that Vince McMahon could convince them to work for him is if he bought out their contract.
Which Vince McMahon is not going to do.
No, he would not do. Now, Diamond Dallas Page was a top-tier wrestler. He was an upper echelon wrestler. He was a 3-time world champion for WCW. So you could have done stuff with him like against The Rock. You could have done stuff like that. You could have had him in programs against The Rock.
Yeah, because the thing is, he's a big name.
Yeah.
He can come in and be a counter to a lot of your big guys.
Yeah. And DDP was still a great performer. I mean, heck, there were years after this, like 2005, 2006, 4 or 5 years later, he was in TNA and he was putting on clinics, like really good wrestling against the likes of Jeff Jarrett and a lot of other younger guys.
Oh yeah.
And it was really good. But it just goes to show that when WCW was introduced into WWF, the superstars from WCW were put into WWF, the majority of them were buried. The majority of them were buried and were used as stepping stones for WWF talent.
Well, okay. So now, one of the matches that they talked about involved Booker T.
Yeah.
Was Booker T did he come from WCW?
Yes. Booker T was WCW. So actually, he retired he left the company as the WCW champ.
So Booker T is one of the few that has, he's maintained some work because I remember when I first started watching, Booker T was a big deal.
Yeah, and he was for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and you see, that's the thing about Booker T and DDP were arguably the top baby faces left at the time in WCW that weren't under contract, that weren't under big contracts. So when Vince bought the company, those two were ready to go, ready and willing to go immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And you see, Booker T, he was. I mean, honestly, I would have put him in programs against the likes of Stone Cold and.
Oh yeah.
Or heck, put him up against fellow acrobats in WWF. Like the bit like Shawn Michaels. I would have said
I could get behind that. Get some high flying matches.
Yeah, get some high flying matches. Shawn Michaels, two Texas boys, tearing it up in the ring.
Get something really like a visual spectacle almost.
Yeah.
Something where people step back and go, holy crap, I was not expecting this.
But instead, you know what happened the very moment Booker T came in? The first few years that Booker T was in, he was embarrassed. Case in point, they made him lose his championship to The Rock. No, his WCW championship, the big gold belt.
Yep.
Made him lose it to The Rock. So Rock was the WCW champion for a while.
Yeah.
And then after that, he got involved in a feud with Stone Cold Steve Austin, which was actually a very funny thing. They were in a grocery store and they kicked the shit out of each other. But it wound up with Stone Cold, coming out on top of the brawl in there. Actually, there was one funny part. Stone Cold Steve Austin, actually, they went into an aisle where they had pizza stuff, and Stone Cold grabs a pepperoni roll, and he goes, "When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore," and smacks Booker T in the head with the pepperoni sauce. You see, good comedy like that. I liked that. Yeah. And he also smacked him over the head with pizza crusts and everything. It was really funny stuff.
And it's like that's a funny match.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you got to keep it even.
You do. You do. And he never got one up on Stone Cold, which, in all honesty, Stone Cold was it. Because Stone Cold was it in WWF.
Oh, yeah.
And
Stone Cold was huge.
He's arguably the biggest star to come out since... you look at the big three... I'd say the big three in terms of baby faces in WWF. Early on in the 80s, Hulk Hogan.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt. Hulk Hogan was it.
Yeah.
As the he was the king of professional wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
And then in the 90s, actually in the 90s, it was actually kind of a co-thing. Mm-hmm. It was around the time when the lines started to be blurred a little bit. You had the likes of Bret Hart. The likes of Bret Hart back then. Yep. Yeah, and this is before I'm talking about before the turn of the new millennium, of course.
Yeah.
And then after that, the double turn happened at WrestleMania 13, and it was and all of a sudden Stone Cold Steve Austin became the new mouthpiece for a lot of angry WWF fans because everybody at that point, everybody has a boss that they don't like.
Oh yeah.
And they'd like to tell their boss to go shove it. So that's what Stone Cold Steve Austin did to Vincent Kennedy McMahon after the Montreal screw job. And
he's
boom.
Just like, screw you, Vince.
Yeah. And thus you have arguably the best babyface of all time and the best heel of all time going head-to-head. And thus that's what won WWF, the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then you had the flood of WCW guys coming over, and a lot of them were looked over. Now, Booker T is really the only case I can think of WCW guys that maintained the level of success.
Yeah, and which is disappointing because you've got all these big names that are still going out there and trying to put on a hell of a show.
Yeah.
But the only reason that they're now out of a job is because their company went under.
Yeah, their company tanked bad.
And you've got all this talent, all this huge amount of talent.
Yeah, and you could have dream matches.
Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah.
You could have had so much good stuff out of him.
Yeah. And he still had some good years left.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He was in Diamond Dallas Page right here, he was in his 40s, I believe, like 42, 43.
Mm-hmm.
But physically, he was actually, a lot of people said physically he actually lasted a lot longer. They said he was like in his 30s. Like physically, he was in his early 30s.
Oh yeah,
because he got into wrestling late. But
yeah, DDP, could have been a huge contender.
Yeah,
and there's. It just goes to show, okay, mismanagement. Yeah, it's been going on a while.
Oh yeah, it's nothing new, guys.
Because if you think about all of the good stuff that we could have gotten over the years as fans of the rope operas.
Yeah, rope operas. I'll never forget the moment you said that.
It's a great term. I don't claim credit for it.
No.
But it's perfect. It's, people are like, wrestling's fake. Yeah, but don't think of it as wrestling. Think of it as a rope opera.
Well, and there you go. Well, whenever people say wrestling's fake, I always say, guess what? So's your favorite TV show.
And it's like, don't look at it like two dudes fighting each other. there's a follow the storyline that just happens to include two dudes fighting each other.
Yeah, and you see, they can tell good stories. Like DDP was a pretty good storyteller in the ring. You said DDP for over a year sold a very badly injured back. He always came to the ring with wrapping around his waist and like padding in his back. And he sold that like a champ for over a year.
Easy to do.
No.
Selling an injury is surprisingly difficult to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, and now we look at it and it's like, yeah, Vince McMahon is still mismanaging things.
Yeah.
For heaven's sake, turn Roman Reigns heel already. He's already like widely hated. I mean, I know there are still some Roman Reigns fans, and I respect that. But the Boo the musical.
And the Boo the revival.
Yeah. Like, shows every week, so long as Roman Reigns shows up on the show.
Yeah.
So, why not turn him heel? Let him use the hate. Let the anger flow through you. Turn to the dark side.
You know why?
Because Vince wants him to be the poster child, the perfect baby face.
Yeah, that's not how it works anymore.
Yeah, and the thing is, even if Roman could pull that off, he goes into an interview. And the thing is, being a wrestler, because of kayfabe, you have to be on 24/7.
Yeah.
Just about. And in the age of Twitter, in the age of, YouTube, if you give a bad interview,
it stays.
And he gives bad interviews.
All the time.
Like, he gives interviews that make him, you go, wait, I thought he was supposed to be a face because he sounds like a heel right now.
Well, did you hear about that one interview that he did where he trashed Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose?
That's the one I'm thinking
about. His Shield mates at the time when they were in the Shield together.
His teammates, the guys who are supposed to be backing him up, and the guys that he is supposed to respect enough to be on a team with.
Yeah.
And he talks shit about them.
Yeah, like, for instance, he called them...
Journeyman.
Yeah, he called them journeymen.
Now,
why?
Okay, all right. Now, I can forgive messing up a word.
Yeah.
Case in point, I still work with Nate. That was probably a little much, and I'm sorry. But you know where I'm coming from.
I get you.
Okay.
You're good.
There have been a bunch of times where I've been like, Nate, you realize you misspelled something in the title of this video. Or, yeah.
Well, it's happened.
It happens.
It's happened a lot less than...
That's true.
Than some people.
Nate, long quiet time. It's quiet log time. We talked about that one already.
Yeah, we have.
Anyway, me roasting Nate aside, even if he's using the wrong word, the tone of the interview overall
sounds arrogant.
Sounds very much like a heel.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Vince has done an excellent job, even though he's screwed up. Because in the process of trying to make Roman Reigns look like this crazy cool, like this crazy babyface to be the next Cena, he has instead managed to create the recipe for the perfect heel.
Yeah.
So turn him heel. Oh, no, we got to keep him as a babyface.
Got to make him look strong.
Got to make Roman look strong.
Then the crowd will get behind him. Yeah.
No. Here's the thing. Even now, like, okay, you want to talk about precise moments where people's career ended? I don't know that you can find a precise moment, but Roman Reigns is certainly looking for one.
I think...
And the thing is, he's doing it on Vince McMahon's orders.
You know what I think it was? I think it was the Royal Rumble that he won... And The Rock came out to try and, get the crowd on Roman's side, him raising up Roman's hand and everything.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. There's some places that do cheer Roman Reigns, but it's when he's performing and everything, and he actually pulls off some decent
when
stuff.
When he actually does a decent job.
Yeah, where you can tell it's being handed to him. Like, for instance, what I would have done is had him stand out there in the crowd amongst the boos and just had him just stand proud by himself instead of having The Rock come out and try and make it seem like a shill. That makes it seem like even more of a shill when you have The Rock come out.
That's the thing. It's like, okay, all these things that Vince is trying to do are backfiring horribly.
Yeah.
So, for example, have Roman stand on his own. For example, don't have Roman show up in a Royal Rumble that he's technically ineligible for.
Yeah, because he competed for the title earlier that night.
Because he competed for a title earlier that night.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else who competed for a title earlier that night was in the Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns enters not in the middle, which would have been more interesting.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns enters at number 30. Handed in at number 30. If Roman had won that Royal Rumble, it would have been yet another mistake in the way they're trying to build him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is, Roman came in at number 30 and eliminated a fan favorite. The Undertaker has been a fan favorite for a long
More than 20 years.
Long time.
More than 20 years, The Undertaker has been it.
I mean, and the thing is, like, they've built the dead man up, and they've built him up as this thing, this great, inscrutable colossus.
Yeah.
I mean, even more than The Big Show, who is a colossus.
Yeah.
He's a big damn dude. Undertaker is still the one you don't want to meet in a dark alley.
Yeah. And
Roman comes in and goes, whoop, and Undertaker's on the floor.
Yeah.
And they did that entirely to try to start beef between Roman and The Undertaker. Probably because they couldn't convincingly get Roman to do it any other way.
I guess. Okay, for me, actually there was a shoot. It was a bit of a shoot that happened.
Mm-hmm.
It was on SmackDown last week, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what happened?
What happened?
Let's see, what time is it right now, actually?
It is 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, okay.
Sorry, I
No,
got an
okay.
email and I wanted to check on it real quick.
No, but what happened was Roman Reigns actually, actually, no, it wasn't Roman Reigns. It was John Cena. John Cena came out and The Miz cut a promo. It was like, oh, everything you say, John, they take as gospel. Anything you want, they give to you, and all this and all that.
No.
And then John Cena says, you think I want to be in this ring with you right now, Miz? You think I want to be standing across from you, jabbering back and forth? Nah, if I had my way, I'd be at WrestleMania with The Undertaker. It's
true.
Just like, that's what everybody wanted.
Yeah, that's the throwdown.
Because we haven't seen John Cena versus The Undertaker in 12 years.
Yeah.
Come on.
Like, that's a fight I want to see.
No, it's 11 years. 11 years, sorry.
11 years. Well, I mean, over a decade.
Yeah, over a decade. And people want to see that again.
That's a hell of a fight. And
can you imagine, if John Cena versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania, and that is the proper farewell match to The Undertaker.
Yeah, let the Taker go out on top.
Yeah.
Cena gets up, they shake hands, maybe even like bro hug.
Yeah. And
the locker room pours out. Make that the spectacle match for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But no. Now you have, is it Taker versus Roman?
Yep. That's pretty much what they're saying.
So instead of giving us an actual legitimate match that we want to see, they're giving us that.
They're giving us what we have
never asked for.
Never wanted to see.
We have never wanted to see. the match literally no one asked for.
Yeah.
Over what could have been a very hype match.
Yeah.
How long? How long have we been going?
40 minutes.
All right, yeah, that's about what I
And the video
expected.
we watched was 8 minutes long.
Well, I'm sure the commenters will have a field day with that one.
Yeah.
But
will.
anyway, we should probably call it because
Secret
I'm
word?
sure that
By comparison, an 8-minute video and a 40-minute video that we just recorded.
all right. The secret word is slobberknocker.
Schlobberknocker.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you didn't watch this video the whole way through, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because not everybody's into wrestling.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm not even like super into wrestling, but I think it's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know. But yeah. Slobberknocker. There you go.
Schlobberknocker. Schlobberknocker.
It's a good wrestling related word. It's fine. Anyway. But yeah, that's this is why we have a podcast and we're still doing it.
Yeah.
Ah, well.
All right.
Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this. I know I'm doing the outro even though Nate let us in.
That's fine.
Yeah, check out the description for the original video and so many links to everything you might want to see related to us and the people who show up, and then you're like, holy crap, that guy's cool. Yeah, like Cole or Wendy or you know, anybody else.
Or our resident hipster Jesus.
Micah,
who's not here.
Who's not here because he is still in the sick.
Yeah.
He's not having a good day.
No, he's not.
But yeah, thank you all for watching. I'm Ben.
I'm Nate.
We'll see you all next time. I swear by God, he's broken in half.